Welcome to the ThunderCast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hugnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose.
I'd like to welcome everybody back to the ThunderCast, your source for everything regarding herd athletics, made for the fans, by the fans, and even former players now. Just like to welcome everyone back and let us know that you can find us anywhere you take in podcasts, whether that be Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and I'd also like to give a shout out to College Huddle. It's just a nice group of podcasts where you can find anything regarding your group of five programs that tell it like it is, just like us. So if you ever need any information of when we're getting ready to play another team, or want to learn more about any other opponents we play, or just want to look around at other schools, College Huddle is where you're going to find that information. But I'd like to get into it today. We're going to be talking about the running backs and, of course, the five things. I guess we can dive straight into it after we get a word from our sponsors, right?
Yeah, if you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com.
So you want to kick it off with the five things to set the tone for the day?
Yeah, let's do it. And as usual, like I told you the last couple of weeks, you're like, will we have enough for five things because the week before was so big? Yeah, we do. We do. Plus, here are 9 things every herd fan needs to know this week. As always, brought to you by Ignite Link, the Tri-State's premier IT management team. We're going to kick it off with number 1. United Soccer Coaches preseason poll has been released. That was just earlier today. And Marshall is number 8 in the country. We are one of 4 Sun Belt Conference schools in the top 25. WVU, who had a deep run last year, their first time ever in the NCAA College Cup, was 3rd. James Madison, 18th. And UCF, 19th. So a lot of folks on our schedule ranked pretty high in the preseason, but Marshall comes in at number 8.
That's awesome. 8, so that's a really solid spot to be in. But you love to be in a nice competitive conference too, where everyone's good. So has the makings for some exciting matchups for sure. That's a great news for the Sun Belt Conference right there.
Yeah, the last 2 years that we've been in this conference and Sun Belt started sponsoring men's soccer again, the Sun Belt Conference has been like top 2, in my opinion, conferences across the country. The ACC has always been a very strong conference, but the Sun Belt was right there with it, with all the different ratings that they came out with amongst the conferences and amongst the teams. And you can always look to see 4 to 5 teams pushing for those top 25 spots. Last year, Marshall was number 1, I think 6 weeks in a row. They were the team to beat. They had the most wins in the country at 18. Great spot. Marshall lost a lot, a lot of different people going pro and things like that. But even with everything they lost, number 8, that just shows how high Marshall, Chris Grassie, this entire program has come up, that you can lose all that and still have the respect of, well, they're still the number 8 team in the country.
Yeah, I think that stuff like that kind of starts to cement the word dynasty. Mm-hmm. Talk about a coach like Grassie, and people just respecting of his gauge of talent, saying like, all right, they lost this, but we know who's coaching them up, and what his eye for talent is like. So salute to them for continued success.
Yeah, and we talked last week briefly about preseason polls and how, a lot of times it's a crapshoot and things like that. Mm-hmm. But in soccer, where there's just so few power programs, I guess you would say, that are routinely up there, they seem to get it a little closer than what you do in football, basketball, and that sort of thing. And one of the things that I enjoy about Marshall being up here in number 8 is that puts them with not that many games throughout the season. That puts them in a good spot to be in that top 5, maybe even number 1 overall as everything shakes out by the end of the season and conference play.
Yeah, I'm excited to go see him.
We're going to go together, me and you. We're going to go and you can sit with me and people can learn who you are.
Yeah.
Just like throw a little jab at you. This guy caught a touchdown that won the game at Notre Dame, and I'm acting like he's going to be seen with me. Speaking of soccer, number 2, Soccer Palooza. This is a very cool event. Soccer Palooza is coming August 23rd. Be $25 per person or $75 for a family of 4. Kids 2 and under will be free. They're going to have a silent auction. There will be a movie that's played. They'll have games, and they're going to provide dinner.
It's always fun having something to do regarding the herd that isn't like super serious or intense like that, and you get to just kind of be around the facilities, be around the program, and build that connection more to the community. So that sounds like an awesome event.
Yeah, and $25 for a person. Somebody out there may say, you're getting to go to a movie, even if it's a movie that's already out and you've already seen it before, even if it's a kid's movie, whatever. How much does it cost to go to the movies right now? Especially if you get a popcorn with it and things like that. I can tell you my wife just took our 3 kids yesterday, and I'm pretty sure it cost what my first car did.
Yeah.
And, they're giving you food, and it's also going to have games and things like that, a silent auction. But all this is raising money for this soccer program that you just threw out words like dynasty. So we need to invest in this program, keep them up there. Events like this that are cool things to go to that cost a little bit of money, those are the ways that we do that.
Right. Yeah, definitely. It's just a simple way to show support like that, and still you're getting to have fun and you're getting something out of it. So it's a win-win to me.
Yeah. Number 3, this name is mentioned so often on this show, especially during these 5 things. Abby Herring has been chosen to represent the Sun Belt Conference for the upcoming NCAA Woman of the Year Award. One of 2 representatives from the Sun Belt. This is the second time in 2 years Marshall has had a representative for this award. Last year it was Macy Majoy. So we're looking at Abby Herring, one of the most decorated female athletes. What a year that she had. She is now going to be 2 from the Sun Belt. They're going to whittle this down to a top 10, and then from there a top 3, and then name that NCAA Woman of the Year. So there's going to be that for Division I, and they're doing the same thing for Division II and Division III. So top 10 for each, then a top 3 for each, and then an overall winner for each.
Yeah, it's a major honor right there. That's really high regards to be spoken about like that. And like you said, it's no surprise for how consistently she appears to be talked about on here for doing great things. So
she owns the record for breaking her own records. That's how many records she has broken here at Marshall, and broken them again herself. But not just that. It's not just about your performance on the field or on the track or on the court or in the pool with this award here. It's about your community involvement and your scholastic development and everything, being a great teammate, being a great representative. When you read all the different accolades from that article, it came out 2-3 weeks ago that talked about, her being up for this award. It's just eye-opening, everything that she did. And oh, by the way, she found time to student teach at I know she was at my kids' school, the elementary school at Southside. So I mean, I think she was at a couple of different schools over the last couple of years, just constantly doing things in the community. And I cannot think of a better representative from Marshall than Abby Herring.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
And number 4, here's another representative that's been mentioned a lot lately. Logan Osborne. We just talked about him and his answers last week from Sunbelt Media Days. He has been named to the 2024 All-State Werfel Trophy watch list. And that is, again, not just about your performance on the field. That's about community involvement and things of that nature as well.
Yeah, I think that's well earned for sure too. I don't think there was a player that I saw develop more than him in my time with him. Like since the very first day that he got there, and by the time that I left, the player that he was unrecognizable. I mean, the person that he was always the same, which is why it wasn't any surprise to me to see how far he came as a player. But a very dedicated guy and deserves all the stuff that he's been receiving lately and experiences and being nominated for this award definitely is something he deserves too.
Now, you can speak on coming in as a freshman and your own personal growth from there until your last year as a senior. So, with that perspective, how well did he do from that when he came in and to what he is now as far as being a leader?
Oh, I think it was. I mean, it's tough. Like when you come in, I'm pretty sure he was a walk-on. I can't guarantee that he was, but I don't think it took more than a semester for him to earn a scholarship, or at least 1 year, if that. But I might completely be wrong on that too. But he had that attitude of at least a walk-on. If he wasn't a guy who just really took it all in from the beginning, and just knew you kind of just have to be quiet and learn everything. That's why you got 2 ears and 1 mouth, I was always told. So he was like a living embodiment of that, and was willing to do extra stuff, run extra. People would kind of look at him like he's crazy after some of these conditioning days we'd have in the summer, and he would continue to run laps around the field or run an extra couple gassers. These are things that you might think somebody's just saying about a guy who is the first one in, last to leave, but he is that. So that's what his development's been like, and I'm sure he hasn't stopped doing those things, or if he has, he's just changed it from running extra laps to focusing on recovery or reading, watching extra film, stuff like that. He knows that there's always something to be done to be better. So that's just what his personality and his and that's kind of his style too. He'll get on somebody if he needs to, but that speaks volumes when you're doing that. That's leadership in itself. You don't even have to say anything when those young guys are coming in and they see a guy who's still putting in extra work. So
yeah, leading by example. And the guy is getting his flowers as far as the preseason goes, and I just hope by the end of this year and the end of his career that he gets even more flowers. Earns some all conference awards and gets invited to some of these East West whatever kind of Senior Bowl, whatever he's going to get. But right now, over the past 6 months, just all the different accolades that he's gotten, the media mentions that he's gotten, he is blowing up right now, and I couldn't be happier for him. Yep. Number 5, softball has 11 named to the 2023-24 Easton NFCA All-America Scholar Athletes team. You got Sydney Bright, Emily Cole, Abby Darnley, Bub Faringa, Ramey George, Bella Gerlach, Reagan Glanz, Erica Holt, Bailey Walters, Destiny Washington, and Casey Wilhoit. You have to have a 3.5 GPA or higher.
Wow. Congratulations to them. I've been able to make it to several softball games. I haven't made it to any soccer games, but several softball games. They've been a fun team to watch the past 2 seasons.
So fun.
And yeah, congratulations to them. That's just really hard to do. We say it every time that I've had a chance to talk about that. It's really hard to balance the academics and still play at a high level like that team has done. And congratulations to them for maintaining those grades.
And it speaks to this coaching staff. It speaks to the Buck Harless Center. It speaks to all the different things that Marshall has put in place to help students and student athletes alike to get high grades, and 11 from one team getting a 3.5 or higher. That's awesome. Number 6, this comes from John Rothstein, reports that WKU and Marshall are doing a home and home men's basketball series. This has since been kind of confirmed by Western Kentucky as they put us on their out-of-conference schedule. This year we are playing at WKU November the 30th, and the return game to Huntington will be in the 2025-26 season.
Nice. Always good to play the Hilltoppers. I still don't know what that is.
They're at the top of the hill.
I guess it's that simple, right? Like I'm confused at what the big red mascot is to this day.
He's Grimace's cousin.
He's just a blob. But no, it's great. It's always fun to play WKU, the Moonshine Throwdown. I wish it was still a thing in football. But I'm excited to watch that. I always get riled up when we used to play WKU. So, but yeah, I'm just stuck on the Hilltopper thing right now. I don't know what it is.
Long-time listeners, viewers, followers on social media will know that KD, the host that is not here right now, still recovering from trying to move and uproot his family from Florida to come back closer to home. He's in the Louisville area now. He ran that Moonshine Throwdown account, and in its last incarnation, Stephen Moffat from WKU, who has his own show now, Topper Talk, they ran it together. Trace Johnson, who collaborates with us a lot, he was part of that. But it was a big thing, and it's kind of like the spiritual predecessor to this podcast and for Topper Talk. You know, those two guys got together and everything. So, yeah, but a lot of fans love that, you know, basketball and football more than anything, like I said, but just that rivalry that did so well that it got its own moniker of the Moonshine Throwdown and such a following on social media. So a lot of fans happy that something is back in that rivalry game.
Yeah. Selfishly, a memory playing WKU in 2019, I think was the first time I was called the big fundamental or referenced like to be Tim Duncan like on a call was after getting the first down in that game. And then we eventually ended up kicking the game-winning field goal as time expired.
Was that when the three Rohrwasser kicked 3 different times? Yep. Yeah, it was a good game. Number 7, still with football here. Marshall announces a home and home with Eastern Michigan. First game will be home on September 26th of the year 2026, and then we travel to Ypsilanti, Michigan on September 23rd, 2028. Thoughts on this series?
I think it's good. I think it's good for I don't know if they were in the MAC when we were in the MAC, but I don't know what our history's like. I was assuming that there was already history, so it's always fun to rekindle a nice competitive matchup like that. Also, I think that knocks out all of the colored turfs in FBS football for Marshall after when they play on the gray turf at Eastern Michigan.
Faded asphalt gray. That's what it's going to look like.
Yeah. So, that's fun. I love that. I think that's a nice out-of-conference game that'll be nice and competitive, but isn't just like shooting for the moon, if you will, playing like a crazy Georgia or Ohio State or Notre Dame even.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you my likes and dislikes, and one that I like, it's not an FCS opponent. 2, I like that it's a home and home, and it's not just a one and done kind of deal. 3, I just don't get to go watch college football in Michigan very often, and you know we're playing Western Michigan and Eastern Michigan. It'll be 2 towns that I have never been to. I never got to go when it was a MAC school that we were playing each other. Broke college kids generally don't just get to up and go to away games like that. So I'm looking forward to that. What I don't like is it's a directional Michigan that has basically no fanfare. It doesn't move the needle nationally for a lot of people. It's not somebody that is going to add to our strength of schedule. So I can see where people are saying, blah. But I also can't just get behind saying, man, that's a horrible thing to pick up, because scheduling is very difficult right now for the non-autonomous schools. I don't like to say G5, but the big conferences just do not want to schedule us, or if they do, it's got to be a money game where they say, no, you can come to our house and we'll give you 1.6 million, and then we're done. The ACC is no longer going to come to the Joan. We are rarely going to get these home and homes with these big schools. So you have to look at the Mount West. You got to look at the MAC. You've got to look at the AAC. And I've brought it up on here before. We ought to do what the ACC just recently did. Two teams are facing each other in a non-conference matchup, even though they're conference teams. We should look at doing that with somebody in the West, in the Sun Belt. If it's a good strength of schedule and we're not playing Texas State, or we're not playing Southern Miss, or we're not playing Louisiana, or we're not playing Troy, just say, hey, we'll schedule them for a couple of years, and we'll count it as an out of conference.
I think that's a great idea. I like the idea of that, and I also hear what you're saying about the. It's not a exciting game to really go to, unless like outside of just like you might not ever go there for anything else. Besides like going for an Eastern Michigan game, but I feel like the herd will travel well and still make it fun. And I definitely like the idea of playing a non-conference conference game, if you will. I feel like that makes a lot of sense, and that kind of just adds to, because you're going to play them eventually anyway too. So you might as well get some competitive juices flowing with them already.
And the conference would have to help with that, because they don't release currently in the Sun Belt Conference. They don't release the cross division games until like March of the year that you're playing. So it would have to be one of those situations where they would say, okay, let's go ahead and announce it so we can go ahead and let some of these cross division teams play in a non-conference manner, because they won't be playing each other. Because you don't want to be playing Troy twice in the season, and then maybe you meet them again in the conference championship. That's 3 times. It just wouldn't work out, or maybe you have to go to Troy twice, and it can be a hassle. And the ACC has these released plenty of room ahead of time. Plus, they also have just so many teams there now. They've done away with divisions and things like that, and just about everybody but us has. It's a pipe dream, but I would like to see that versus playing, like UTEP versus trying to think of another team in the Charlotte. I really don't care if we go play Charlotte again. That does nothing for me. But Eastern Michigan is kind of in the same boat. The only reason for me is like, 1, it's a trip to Michigan. 2, it's I never got to go there before when we were playing them, so it's not like something that has been done to death for me.
Yeah, I'll just go for the gray turf for the asphalt.
The faded parking lot turf. Number 8, we got a little glimpse, and when I wrote this note, I said only the white football helmets, but we've since put out in the last hour and a half a video showing white and black helmets both got a little bit of an upgrade. The Block M and the Varsity Stripe are now metallic instead of matte colors, and they redid the bumper on the front a little bit, just a little bit of change all around. And I don't know your thoughts on it, so I'll get yours and then I'll weigh in with mine.
I'm cool with it. I always think it's fun to just tweak your uniforms a little bit. Almost every year I would. I'm a big EQ guy, trying to stay hip with the times there. I love when we brought out the black helmet, and when we got the raised decals that were on the front bumper and the back bumper, so you could see them. I got my wrong hand behind me. I love that type of stuff, and I think it'll look nice. And if somebody thinks that they don't like it now or think it's messing with the traditional look, I feel like once they see it, the sun shining off of it, it's going to look great. So I'm a fan.
Well, so I'm a fan of doing some things like that as well. And we got word from this show. Christian Spears was on here a little over a month ago, and he said we just asked him. KD asked him. Yes, we are getting a Kelly Green helmet added to the rotation, and that's going to be yet another little fun tweak because of the different color combinations that you could do. This one is no change to the logo, no change to the varsity stripe. It's just a little bit of a tweak. And as a lot of people said, it's going to look great under the lights. It's going to look great with the sun shining off of it. It's going to look great on the TV cameras. So I'm interested in that. But you mentioned something of people saying messing with tradition. Well, just go back and watch our 92 The Kick by Willie Merrick and look at the helmets. Look at the color. We were more of a hunter green, a forest green. The M did not look anywhere near like what it looks like today. Pennington's years here. I mean, we weren't in Kelly Green. So, you start looking at the different things and how we've tweaked and done what is now known as the varsity stripe and things like that. People will get caught up and say, well, I think that, that ruins tradition. We've changed quite a bit over the last 30 years. We have.
It's good to always evolve, too.
Yeah,
I feel like, especially in that sense when we're talking about uniforms. Surely the football standard will always be the standard, but I don't know. I feel like the only schools to not change anything over time have just been Alabama and Penn State.
Yeah.
Really, truthfully, since the beginning of their time. If you look, I've seen all the old alternates that I was playfully begging for at the equipment window. Like the yellow was involved in our color scheme at one point, I'm pretty sure.
84 maybe.
Yeah, they had silver helmets at a certain point.
So. But let's never bring up the yellow or the silver ever again. I never. But no, I get what you're saying, and you as a player too. What's always said, is the players love this, and you were right there. You just said you were an EQ guy. But how many people in those locker rooms, when a new uniform was coming out and there was something different from the year before, how hyped were most of the guys to get something new?
It feels good. It feels like they're listened. Like it feels like you're being listened to as a player, and it's just super exciting because you get to be the first one to do something for Marshall.
Sure.
And, I was just happy I stuck around long enough to get to wear the black helmet. Because there'd been whispers about it since the first day Coach Huff got there about what we're gonna try to do and this and that, and I think it's super exciting. I remember when we changed from the black shoulder jerseys back to the regular green, and the year before that we had changed back to the regular white, plain white, and it just felt good. It feels good to switch it up. And when the Dion quote, the look good, feel good, play good, pay good, all that stuff is all accurate to me. So I feel like it definitely helps the morale too in the locker room once you hand somebody a new toy that you get to play with.
Yeah. Well, I'm all for it. More than anything, the kind of teaser video that just showed it getting replaced on the hook on the, it was hard to get a grasp of just exactly what it was going to look like. But then they did a longer video showing the white and the black, and you really got to see, how it would look on camera and with the lights and things like that. I think it's going to be a good look. I really want to see them up close so I can kind of get an idea of it, because a lot of people don't know that's not just a shiny white helmet. It's got metallic flake in it on the white, and they would never know that until they've got one up close. So I'm willing to bet that a lot of people that were like, I don't like it because it's changed, may not have even noticed unless a video was released on it.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's finish this up with number 9. Safe to Stay with the Herd was announced on August the 1st. And what this is because of the campus carry law that went into effect on July the 1st of this year, but was actually signed into law to start on July the 1st of this year. It was signed all the way back in March of last year. So we knew this was coming. This is in the state of West Virginia. You can now legally carry a firearm on campus, but where you cannot carry it is any event, not just athletic, but it's mainly going to be athletic events that are 1,000 attendees and above. So what did we have to do? We had to basically reconfigure how we did our entry for these games. A black, probably 8-foot fence has been erected around the perimeter of the Joan, and it's consistent with what it looks like over at the Jack, over at the Dot, down at the Vet for soccer. It's a very nice black fence. And they are doing the gates to where you go through entry point here, entry point there, and you go into the place after going through security checkpoint. So that's the big change. All the other changes that came about from there is that one of the bigger ones is you can no longer go out for halftime or second quarter or whenever it was and come back in without a re-entry ticket. And that's got a lot of people talking. There's more changes, and we're going to go over all these, but just to hit some highlighted notes. There's going to be an expanded concourse now with the fence coming out. There's going to be more concessions like grab and go and grab and pay. There are going to be games and things for the kids to do right outside of that fence. There's going to be food truck alley going down what is essentially 4th Avenue. It's going to be kind of right behind Wendy's over near the East Lot. There is going to be earlier admittance to the Joan. It's a full 2 hours, maybe 2.5. I'll have that here in a second. Before that you can go in over there, and during that time, they're going to have $2 hot dogs, $2 popcorns, $2 soft drinks, so and maybe $2 water. But they are they're doing a lot of things, and a lot of people are focusing on I can't go out and come back in anymore.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff. I think it's pretty much all good. I love to hear about that food truck alley. Definitely big. The grab and go stuff is cool too. I've been a part of that at a Columbus Blue Jackets game. It definitely helps when you just need to grab a snack or a beverage.
Go get a Gatorade, scan it, pay for it, and you're gone. You don't have to wait in line.
And as far as the no reentry thing, I think when it's trying to prioritize safety first and foremost, I think it's just a no-brainer what they had to do. And then I think they literally just had to do that. But also, I think it'll make you make that decision, and when you're sitting in the stands, it was if I really want to watch this game or not, or if I want to go sit in the parking lot. So that I think it's good. It's gonna make hopefully make the crowds a little more full for the full duration of the game. As a player, it's that I love that idea.
Well, here's the deal, and I'm with you. We are one of probably that you could count on one hand, but probably at least two hands in the entire country where you can do that at a football game in college, where you can leave and go back in. Mm-hmm. You know, can't do that on the road games that I've gone to. I think the last time that I did that anywhere was Miami, Ohio, and I don't know if they're still doing that. But you could leave, go back in. That just doesn't happen hardly anywhere. So it was unique here, and a lot of people's like, yeah, but that's what made it unique. How many people were going out? It's 20 minutes, by the way, from the time that clock hits 0 for the end of the second quarter until 15 comes up for the third quarter. It's 20 minutes. You've got 20 minutes to file out of the stadium, go out to wherever it is you're tailgating, and then get back in. So imagine trying to do that and going back through security. And that's what a lot of people are not realizing is they're like, well, this isn't about security. It's just an excuse not to have the no reentry. No, it is. Because can you imagine 15,000 people trying to exit the stadium through those gates while you have people that left earlier trying to come back through those gates? And you have to say, oh, well, let me stamp your hand. Oh, let me also check this person to see if they have a weapon. It's just going to be a logistical nightmare. So, yes, this was kind of necessary. But two, we've been expecting this for a decade, maybe even longer, because that's just the way it is when you go anywhere anymore. Mm-hmm. I took my oldest daughter to Kings Island, and we went through an outer perimeter fence, and we went through, by the way, you go through a big scanning machine. You keep everything in your pockets. You don't have to empty them out like you did before to go through the gate. So you're going through this security perimeter, and basically it scans you. So you're going through, and then once you're in. But you still go somewhere else to get your ticket taken and scanned. And that's the way it is just about everywhere. It was like that at Kings Island. It's like that when you go to professional sporting events. You get checked, and then you go provide your ticket. And we're going to have expanded concourses. It is 2 hours before the game that you get to go in now. It used to be 90 minutes. There are going to be more things to do once you're in there. I think that people just like to bitch just to bitch a lot. But if you're hung up on getting out of the stadium, pounding however many beers or eating however many hot dogs or hamburgers or whatever, and then walking back in within 20 minutes and saying, well, yeah, I never miss a minute of the game or whatever. Just about every game, the third quarter was much lower attended than the end of the second half. I mean, the second quarter. Players are going to notice that. Yeah. You're going to feel it as a fan when you look around and you're like, man, we're now down to like 15,000. So people get on message boards and social media and bitch about attendance, but then they're bitching that they can't go out and miss half the third quarter just so they can drink a free beer. I mean, we're talking about a 3-hour sporting event here that you can't just say, well, yeah, I'll just tailgate more when the game's over.
Right. And obviously as a player or a coach or anybody who's a part of the game, you want to block out the noise or the lack of noise and not let the environment dictate it. But no matter what you say, it is a factor. Whether you're playing on the road and there's a million people screaming in your face, or you're at home and they're screaming at the opposing team's face, that's an advantage. And then as far as momentum goes, if you feel like you've had a great momentum and the crowd was into it in the first half and we're rolling, and you come back out and you're doing your little warm up and you see that everybody's gone, and then you're like, they're just getting snacks or going to the bathroom. Like subconsciously, you're probably saying these things. I know I was. I guess my mind was racing. I guess. But once the game is ready to re-kick off, and you see the student section or wherever is now empty when there was thousands of people there before, you're like, wow, like I thought this meant the world, but now it's just really about us. Like that's when if you're a good team, you got guys like, don't worry about this. But you do kind of glance up where you saw a bunch of people where there's no more people and say, oh, wow, I guess those people, this wasn't good enough, this performance.
And you can hear that it's not as loud. I can in the stands. I can hear that it's not as loud because there's not as many people there. But I'm going to qualify a couple things just so I'm not sounding like I'm the fan police and bitching at everybody. I love tailgating. I enjoy it. I'm not telling you not to tailgate. I'm encouraging anyone that will listen to go tailgate longer and harder. Show up earlier. Come over to our tailgate. Make your own tailgate better. Tailgating to me is 100% part of the experience. So I am not telling people, oh, you shouldn't go tailgate or anything like that. What I am telling you is you can tailgate your asses off, still go into the game, and still stick around for that 10 to 12 minutes that you wouldn't be walking back and forth just to go out to try to get a free beer and just go enjoy the game and try to be a better fan early in the third quarter and not be out in the parking lot. We still talk about people that are going out to the tailgates and never coming in the game. Yeah. And I can't get that, man. I can't get that.
Hey, well then they got to make that decision if they really want to
Yeah.
watch the game or not. So
Yeah.
that's what that rule.
What's
The rule.
important to you? If that's what's important is, it's a close game and at halftime they're like, man, I'd really like to give up the second half of this game just to go out and get 1 to 2 beers in me, instead of paying for it here or whatever. That'll tell you a lot, I think. And I don't care anybody that's listening to this has a problem with what I just said. It's usually right down here. We don't have it because KD's not here, so we have them both. But it's at Russ Living Good, 1S, 1G. Hit me up, call me names. I don't care. Not going to bother me. But I did, just thinking about this. I was wrong. I said Miami, Ohio was probably the last time. Last year at NC State, you could actually leave and go back in. And I did that because I was meeting a fraternity brother that is down there at NC State now. He's been down there for, a couple of decades or right around a couple of decades. So I went out to meet him because I did not get to meet him before the game. And I had to miss like a minute and a half of the third quarter, and it killed me because going out there to meet with him and go back in. And he was almost immediately outside the gate that I went to. He was 20 yards from the stadium. And I still missed a little bit of the game just to go out there and briefly talk to him so I could go back in. But yeah, man, I know you said you're for it. I'm for it. This was something that no one at Marshall, no one at WVU asked for, was this campus carry. Both institutions actually lobbied against it and said, we don't want this. But it's the law. It's something they have to do. So they have taken the necessary steps, and they've done the best that they can. And just like what they've done I think that they did the absolute best that they could by providing a lot more for the fans for this inconvenience now of having to put up a gate or a fence and go through it and all that jazz.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the last thing there, right?
Yeah, that is. That ends our this week. 9 things every Herd fan needs to know this week. As always, brought to you by Ignite Link.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what goes on the field now, I guess.
Yeah.
We got the position group breakdown right here that we're going to get into of the running back room, coached by Telly Lockett. Great coach, great person. I think he was formerly at Florida State coaching tight ends and running backs 2 different seasons, and has had a phenomenal career of his own too. But I don't think we have the ranking from Phil Steele, but we'll go straight into what we lost. We didn't lose anything to the portal, but we did gain some guys from the portal for sure. One of them being Jordan Houston. I guess we'll start there. Running back from NC State. He's definitely had a long career. This is his 6th season, and he's had a lot of carries on and off, it seems, starting in 2019, where he had over 500 yards when he first got to touch the ball at the FBS level, and it kind of went back and forth getting the ball a lot. So that's good to see a guy who's had some experience in this game joining the room. And then we also had another transfer come in. That was Sadiq Jackson, Florida Memorial, 5'10", 200 pounds senior. I think that's an NAIA school. I don't have too much information. Do you have any information statistic-wise?
I do not. I tried to look some of this up earlier today, and life and my career got in the way. But I do want to tell you, I didn't have this earlier, but I looked it up. Phil Steele has us tied for 7th amongst 6 other teams. Well, we're one of 6 teams at 7, so he's got a lot of people right there in the middle of the pack, and we're one of them for running backs.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I said there's got to be another room. That's pretty much a question mark. We got Payne coming back. But to finish up on Sadiq Jackson real quick, I know it says he's from Miami, Florida, went to Miami Northwestern High School. I think that's that is Coach Lockett's neck of the woods there. Definitely got some great connections and must know a thing or two about this guy and what he's about. And that's like kind of brings full circle back to like the grassy thing we mentioned. I have so much respect for Coach Lockett and what he did production wise with our running backs the past 2 seasons. Everyone should have respect. He has obviously had talented guys, but talent can only get you so far. And what he does with those running backs is special. So I trust his judgment on anybody he wants to bring in, freshman or transfer. So those were the 2 portal guys, correct?
Yeah, got 2 from the portal incoming, and then your high school guys that you're probably going to talk about next.
Yep, the 2 high school guys, got them right here, was Carter Holsworth from Indiana, 6 foot 195 on the official camp roster, which you love to see. It's always exciting when that gets updated. And then we had Moses Gray from Louisiana, Waggerman, Louisiana, 6'1", 205. So I don't have too much info beyond that. Do you have their star ratings there?
No, the only other thing that I have is Stanley Jackson was not on the roster last year. He looks like he's a redshirt freshman, but I couldn't find any transfer stuff, so I just kind of stuck him in here with the high school players. I don't know if he went to a prep school. I don't know, I don't know if he was somewhere and we just didn't catch the transfer. It wasn't listed. So I just had him lumped in here as well.
Yeah. Only info I have on that is Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
So we've had a great Marshall running back from Columbus, Ohio previously. So maybe it's a Brendan Knox legacy player there. But I'm excited for this room. Projected starters wise, I'd have to say it goes to Payne off of tenure. But going straight into rotationally, I think Houston is ready for it, ready to take on any amount of carries, and I think AJ Turner would be the next guy. What do you think as far as starter wise?
My starters, I listed 2 because I doubt we're going to be any 2-back sets, but just the nature of it, I listed 2. I had Ethan Payne and Jordan Houston, and both of it was because of their experience in bigger games and things like that. Their length of time in a college program as far as nutrition, weight room, that sort of thing. So that's who I had there. But yeah, other contributors, I'm with you, AJ Turner, and also put down Antoine Roberts, who was a transfer that came in last year. I have those 2 as likely getting a lot of carries as well.
Yeah, I think AJ Turner, I know we'll get into it later. I think he's poised to have a great season. He played a little bit when I was there. Got to score his first touchdown when I was in the game too. So he's he's ready to just hurdle people all the time.
Yes,
he's ready to just jump over human beings.
You can tell athleticism. He's got it. It seems like he might be one of those that would push for starting snaps, depending on how this fall camp goes and then how the season goes. It may be a situation where you go with the hot hand and he becomes that hot hand.
Yeah, and to not throw shade at a player like Ethan Payne or Polka, as a lot of us like to call him, but we're moving into this air raid deal, and you just don't know how often you want a bruiser style runner like Payne in there. And I'm not saying it makes him any less valuable, but if Turner or Houston or anybody proves that they can catch the ball out of the backfield or line up in the slot and motion out and do these different types of things, that'll only add value to them as a player and then add value to our offense. So I'm sure whoever is ready to catch the ball, if we're going to be air raid, is going to be the guy who wins this spot or earns the most playing time up front in this system.
I would agree. I would definitely agree.
Let me see what else here. I got the next thing up will just be what the strengths of the unit are, and I figured I'd kick it back to you for this one.
Yeah, let's go 1 for 1. I've got 3. How many do you have?
I have 2. that I'm thinking of right now.
Or I'll do my one, and then you do one, and so I'll start, and then I'll end it. Number one for me is depth. We have 10 running backs on the roster right now. Now, I don't expect all of the ones that have a redshirt year available to not redshirt. So I doubt that we're going to have 10 ready to go into any given game. But going into fall camp, having 10 on the roster, to me, that's amazing depth.
Yeah. I'd say my first one that I had that is one of them. So I guess I'll go with my second one. Was just the overall. I mean, I said this about the linebackers too, but looking at the rosters and the height and weights and the styles of these guys, I think there's a versatility to all of them. I grew up a Saints fan, and when we won the Super Bowl, we had 3 running backs that played a significant amount of snaps: Pierre Thomas, Reggie Bush, and Mike Bell. And Mike Bell is what I view kind of Payne as is the guy who's going to go in 3rd and 1, steamroll everybody, or as much as you need in a 4-minute offense when the time comes. And then AJ Turner has the potential to be Reggie Bush-like. I'm not just going to give him Reggie Bush type of deal, type of status yet, but ability to catch
status.
catch it out the backfield. Your athlete guy, and then Jordan Houston seems to be like a balanced guy who's gotten a lot of carries before, has caught the ball. He's played at a high level. Yeah. So I think that sort of versatility is going to keep everybody healthy, and that's really depth too. To go off of what you said, so I think it's going to keep this room nice and healthy. You got to have a deep running back room to make your best player, whoever ends up being the guy to keep him healthy. So
yeah. Number 2 for me that I had for a strength was that receiving out of the backfield that you said, we need with an air raid, and you're 100% right. You can't have an air raid and not have a check down option for your tight end and a check down option for your running back. You just got to have reliable hands there. Ethan Payne has shown that he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Definitely on some improbable catches, some one-handers, some diving catches, some long. It seems like 39 yards in the air. He caught one of them last year. But Jordan Houston had a really good early career down at NC State, catching the ball out of the backfield and adding value to him. So I see those two. That's one of the reasons that I had them up there as starters, is we already know that they can catch it out of the backfield. So to me, that is a strength in the air raid of having some capable hands.
Yeah. I think my second one was the overall depth too. When you got that many guys on the roster, and you only added 2 of them was true freshmen. Most of those guys should be ready to roll if their number's called. So I don't know if there's much more to say about that, because my first point was really the same thing. The versatility is also depth and the same thing. So if you wanted to do your third strength, then we can continue.
Yeah, and my third is a lot of what you said on the first about the versatility, because you mentioned some of it was size. You look on there and, we don't have all the same types of running backs like you were mentioning. We don't have a roster of kind of how it was for our wide receivers last year. It just seemed like everybody was, in that same mold. It looks like we've got a speed guy. It looks like we've got a balance guy. It looks like we've got a power guy. It looks like we've got a hands guy. But we have 6 foot, 6'1", 6'1", 5'10". We've got some really good size there. I think the smallest that we had was maybe 189 or something in running back.
I think that's what they have Turner listed at now, and he might be the lightest, but he might be the fastest guy in that room too. So
absolutely, and with that athleticism that we talked about,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think size to me and that versatility of that depth, I think we're all on the same page. We just kind of listed them differently.
Yeah. To go straight into the next part would be the weaknesses.
I've got 2. How many you have?
I really just have one.
Okay.
But I think and it's a huge one. I think I'll start with mine. the durability of all of these guys is kind of in question. I know Payne was battling different things pretty much his whole career, just nothing major or anything like that, but it's the nature of this position, nature of the game. And AJ Turner has too. And I'm not too sure about Jordan Houston's pass, but it's kind of got to be a question mark if he came straight in and had X amount of carries for 500 or 600 yards, and then it just stopped and wavered off. Like, was he battling injury? I don't know. These are just questions that we'll probably get answers to throughout the year. And I hopefully they just prove us wrong and they all are able to play the perfect amount of snaps and it doesn't come to this. But if one guy has to end up carrying the load, how sustainable can that be? Is always the question at running back.
Well, number one for me is no feature back. I mean, we had last year Rasheen Ali, the year before that when he was injured, we had Kalen Labron, and, we have been accustomed to having, that option. And you go back, it was almost running back here. You've already mentioned Brendan Knox, and then you can go before him, and then you can go before him, and you can go before him. And how's that going to work? I know we got a different offense, but, how will it work to not have that feature back this year? And to me, that's the big question mark, because we had to replace somebody that was, to quote Larry David, pretty good, in Rasheen Ali. Led the nation in touchdowns in 2021. And then in 2023, he bounced back after even not having a full year, had to miss a game or two and, limped through a couple of games, just had that explosiveness and could take it to the house at any time and still racked up a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns. So how do you replace a guy like that when you don't really have that quote-unquote feature back?
Yeah, that's a big question. But I think this the air raid style that has been implied and has been tried and tested over the spring and the fall will benefit that. I think it's kind of not made not that it's not made to have a premier guy or successful running back, but it's kind of made to plug in a running back who wants to just block, like chip and catch a pass out the backfield, get the tough 1 yard gain on third down, and kind of not be fine with that. But like you're going to get rewarded eventually if we really start airing it out how we want. Then the box will lighten up.
It's going to open up.
You'll get rewarded. Right. Yeah. So I think that'll play to those three main guys' advantage, if not more, or somebody else joins in. I think it's kind of like a plug any of those guys in and just play and let the quarterback deal it out to all his weapons.
Well, I think one of the things that has been talked about is probably going to come true is going to be more of a by committee approach. And that will lighten the load from what you said of, the durability questions where Ethan Payne, it wasn't just, the nature of the position. It's the nature of his style of play. He's lowering shoulders and trying to knock people out. He's not trying to finesse somebody. Not that he didn't have speed and elusiveness. He didn't have Rasheen Ali's gear, but he didn't care to lower the shoulder. Right. And you're going to take a lot of hard knocks like that, and trying to pick up 3 yards here by carrying 5 people. It is a big question mark. So I think by the committee and the air raid, it just seems like this is maybe the best year to have it instead of having a feature back that is capable of doing everything else. The air raid can help mask a little bit not having that feature back.
Yeah, and then Coach Lockett's track record too. Just whoever you put in there is going to get a million yards and a bunch of touchdowns, hopefully. I mean, and it's a different offense, but not to playfully talk about Coach Lockett, but he's seriously one of the greatest people I've ever encountered. So I can't wait to see what his room is looking like. I know they'll be ready physically and mentally. So,
my other weakness that I had here, and I'll just be brief with it because it's kind of what we've already talked about, was experience. We have some that have been FBS starters, but no one has been that every game starter every single year kind of guy. And I think that's why it will be more of the by committee. But again, that's almost the same as no feature back, but still, it's a weakness.
Yeah, I definitely agree because it just makes you wonder as a fan who's just looking at numbers. We didn't really watch Jordan Houston play every single game or know what it looks like. We just get to see 100 carries, 500 yards in 2 seasons, and then 20 to 30 in the other seasons. And like, what happened? Like you just don't know. So you wonder why the experience isn't there. And then with Payne, he's been behind Ali and Kalen, and you're like, is he going to be ready to step into some major role? And same thing with AJ. So I agree that it's kind of like the backer convo the other time. It's also like you got that added chip on your shoulder though, with all those question marks and nothing to lose sort of mentality when you're running the football. So
a lot of people wanting to prove a lot of things.
Yep, and that just adds to the kind of it's becoming the mantra of the season. It seems like naturally, the more we talk about it is when we talk about media day, nobody thinks anything of you. You talk about our backers. Who are you? Where'd you come from? And then kind of the same thing here with the running backs outside of Payne is what are you guys really about? So it's going to be a fun season to prove a lot of people wrong, hopefully. So to get into the final questions here, there's only one loss. So who do you think the biggest loss is? Is the only loss, and it is a major loss.
And it could have been we could have lost 15 players from this running back room, and it still would have been the same answer, even though it was only one that we lost. But it's Rasheen Ali's. He's looking at playing Sundays in the NFL. Yeah. And look at what he was. Every time he touched the ball, he was a threat to take it to the house. Yeah. And that changed the entire way that everybody else had matched up against them. Even the receivers, the tight ends, whether you blitz, everything, you had to know, well, if I do this, what's going to happen with Rasheen? So by the very definition, he's the hardest to replace on our entire team, much less the running back room.
Yeah. And you're losing a lot of value, but hopefully the players behind him got to watch that tape every single game, week in and week out, practice tape. The way he practiced is something special too. So hopefully they learned a lot to take in all those good habits that he was showing. And I'm sure he left great wisdom and things behind for the rest of those guys in the room to learn from. But he's a major loss, like you said, probably the biggest loss in the team, and ready to go earn to have that spot behind Derrick Henry, hopefully coming into his training camp. So.
Yeah, the way the NFL goes anymore, again, they try not to have feature backs. They try to have 3 to 4 different people carrying that load. It's not the same as it was in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So, he's got a real good shot. Definitely in Baltimore.
Yeah. They love to run the football. So I can't wait to see him with the ball in his hands and in purple and black. To question number 2 here, who are you most excited to see?
I cheated on this one, and this is the only time I will ever cheat on this podcast. I'll never ever cheat again. I put most excited to see the rotation or by committee, and it was basically, how do we handle losing Rasheen by utilizing 3, 4, maybe even 5 backs? What's that going to look like? And that's what I'm most excited to see.
Yeah. I went with Jordan Houston for this one.
Okay. That's a good pick. Good pick.
I'm just excited. Yeah, I'm excited to see him. It seems like he left NC State with potentially a sour taste in his mouth. If you're willing to – usually these guys want to move laterally, if you will, to another Power 5. But it seemed like I'm going to just go whoever wants me and whoever's going to give me the ball so I can run through everybody's face. This is the energy I kind of get from just looking at the numbers of it. Of his career, because he knows he can, and he scored touchdowns, and done it all before, and it looks like he's ready to do it again. So
that's an excellent pick. That's an excellent pick.
Who is your breakout player?
I'm giving it to Turner. We talked about his athleticism and everything, and it seems like he just did not have the chance these last 2 years to actually break out. Just did not have the carries because of who was in front of him. And I think that he has a definite chance to break out and just explode onto the scene this year.
I agree. That's who I had. AJ Turner poised to break out. Like I said, I think the way he plays is going to try to be it's going to end up being molded into something like Rasheen's game because he's been around it for so long, seeing how he's practiced, seeing what he did drill wise, being coached by the same coach helps you model your game after a great player too. No matter if that guy was in the exact room with you or that coach is like, look, this is how we did it this time. But thankfully for him, he got to live with him and be next to him and take these road trips with him. So I think it's going to be similar. I don't know. Everybody saw what happened when I tried to hurdle somebody one time. My arm almost fell off.
Yeah.
So salute to him for always having the courage to do that. I'd say be careful with those because we saw what could happen. But yeah, to end it up there, I think AJ Turner will be the breakout player. Who will be your MVP of this unit in this season?
I'm going with the mayor of the running back room, Ethan Payne. And I think that his versatility of catching the ball out of the backfield, his bruiser mentality, as you said, blocking, I think that just all around he's going to be that MVP out of the backfield.
Yep, that's who I had too. Guy who's polka, man. He's all about West Virginia. He's all about representing this team, this program, how it should be represented. And he's had the experience here to kind of be a leader. I think he'll be a good leader for this team too, as much as he wants to be. And he's, like you said, he's demonstrated that he can catch the ball out of the backfield, and that he also has that bruiser style. So arguably the most versatile. Is he going to make guys miss in the same fashion as Houston or Turner? Maybe not, because I've seen him. He's sidestepped a couple guys. I don't think that's what he wants to do, but I think he'll be the most valuable player. The guy who will go to when it's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 is going to be him.
That's right.
That'll make him the most valuable. The final question, is this unit better than it was last year?
No. And, I hope people don't listen to that and say, Russ is just being negative. I think that we have pieces there, and we've said this about other running back or other position group rooms, but you cannot lose Rasheen Ali to the NFL and get better without having someone there that is ready to step in and do better than Rasheen Ali. It's just, can someone do it? Yeah, I mean, you might have somebody that just plays out of their mind and gets 1,800 yards or something crazy this year. The likelihood of it happening are not very high. I'm just going with no, we did not. You lost Rasheen freaking Ali.
Yeah, I think that's very well put. Unless there was another guy who's NFL caliber, Senior Bowl watch list ready, just in the chamber for us.
Yeah.
Then I don't think you could say anything but no right now. But, that's my answer too. And I think as a room, I think you could argue as a room potentially better, overall, having more depth.
Yeah.
Maybe. And that's still in the air. It's not proven.
Mm-hmm.
But I think these guys could, not to say that it's just him put together, putting them all together is gonna equal Rasheen Ali, or their production equaling him is a slight to them. But I think that's what they could do. I think they could all together, the way this offense is going to be ran, I think they could almost match, if not match, his production last year as 3 running backs to 1. And that's not a slight to them. I think it's just going to look different anyway, as a whole.
They 100% could replace the production just out of sheer like tempo, snaps, all that stuff. But yeah, you and I are on the same page. It would be the entire room to do that, and it's hard to argue losing one player and having to use your entire room to replace that player that it got better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up the breakdown there.
That does. Next week, we're going to be doing the defensive line. So we are continuing this group. We've only got 2 position groups left, defensive line and then quarterback, before we start looking into the overall preview of the season. And then we'll get into breaking down that first game. We're 25, as we record right now, 25 days away from kickoff.
That's awesome.
All right, so let's take it around the herd, and I'll do this pretty quick. There's not a whole lot. Women's soccer picked up a transfer from Faulkner University by way of Cameroon. Elodie Metho transfers in. As we always say on here, you're not going to get a lot of stats. You're not going to get a lot of position information on these transfers and signings in soccer just by the nature of that's the information that is not out there on the internet. It's a lot easier on football because you've got 75 different reporters covering the transfer portal, and you can get anything that you need on that. But international signings just continue to come for women's soccer. Volleyball season tickets are on sale, $50 for courtside, $40 for general admission, and the same thing that you can do for women's soccer, a 4-pack or more is $25 each. So you and 3 of your friends or you and your family of 4 can pick up season tickets for $25 each. Heck of a bargain to go see volleyball. Yeah. Men's soccer season tickets for it is on sale. And here's the things you need to know. The main grandstand is completely sold out for the 2024 season. Section 100, which is $100 for the season, is a new reserved same section, row, and seat for every game that is available for sale. This will be a temporary bleacher that is brought in and placed in the southeast corner of the stadium. This section will not be connected to the current grandstand. And then it'll tell you on there if you're looking to get those. General admission is $75, and those season tickets are still available. So reserved is $100, but you can't get them in the main grandstand because those are sold out. And $75 is for anywhere else general admission. General admission tickets are first come, first serve when you get in there into the vet. And finally, just to wrap it up, I want to remind everybody that Marshall's Week of Welcome is coming up, and we are going to have that We Are Marshall movie on the 15th at 9 p.m. inside the Joan. We'll be talking about this a lot more on social media, especially on Twitter. Katie's going to have all this stuff out there. I'm going to give him the list of all these events. And we, the ThunderCast, are going to try to show up for 1 or 2 of these things and try to promote the athletic department and the events as much as we can to the incoming students. But for right now, just remember to go to the We Are Marshall showing at the Joan.
That sounds like a plan to me.
Devin, do you have any thoughts before I take us out of here?
I'm just. It's almost time to strap up the pads and buckle up the chin strap, man. And I'm ready to see what these guys have to offer. I'm going to be stopping by practice probably within the week, and then I'll have some real big insight. Outside of that excitement, I'm still on Twitch, twitch.tv/dmiller83, playing that tremendous Campus Legends of Saturday Dynasty. If anybody's a gamer and wants to come chat with me and other former Marshall players that hang out in my chat, come on by. It's friendly.
Well, on that note, I'm going to take us out because I don't have anything to say, and it's 128 degrees in this room I'm in. So, whether you see us at the Joan, whether you see us at the Jack, or whether you see us here on the ThunderCast dripping out 8 pounds of sweat an hour in this ungodly hot room, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd. It's the ThunderCast. We'll see you next week as we continue the position group breakdown series with defensive line. Later.